Hello, Guitar Smarts fans. Before you check out this podcast, I want to make you aware of a cool new place where you can interact with other Guitar Smarts listeners. It's a Facebook group called the Guitar Geek Hangout. That's where we hang out and talk about all things guitar. So, if you like the Guitar Smarts podcast, come and chat with Kiran and myself over in the Guitar Geek Hangout on Facebook. Maybe check out some pre-podcast clips and even get involved in asking and answering lots of questions from the other page dwellers. Hope to see you there.
But not only does it have build your own Stratocaster, it also comes with a 65 Princeton reverb amp to build with it. It's a set. It's a set.
I love the fact there's a picture of a guy who's just built it looking down the neck as if he's checking like twist on the neck or something like that, and just making sure it's set up fret level properly. I mean, that is pretty incredible. One of those. That is pretty cool. Greetings, welcome to another Guitar Smarts podcast. Thanks for downloading. This week, Kiran and I are having a bit of a catch-up, chit-chat, just general shooting the breeze, but mainly we're discussing pedal boards, and in particular my pedal board, which I have again rebuilt and decided to make some changes and change my rig again. And believe it or not, since doing this podcast, I'm planning on changing some things again already, but isn't that the life of a guitarist? But we're also having a chat about some general guitar equipment news as well, so some new interesting products that are out on the market. Come and speak to us on our social media pages. Let us know what new equipment is interesting you currently at the moment, and what you plan to buy and what you want to do with your rigs. It's always good to hear from you. Speaking of social media pages, you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Guitar Smarts, and you can find us on Instagram as well at guitar_smarts. And as well, if you want to help us out on the Guitar Smart podcast, then please rate and review our podcast. And I've made it easy for you. There are some links in the show notes for the podcast that take you right to the places where you can leave a rating and a review for the podcast, and that really helps us to get into the ears of more people searching for guitar related podcasts. Anyway, that's enough from me. Let's get to it. Hello, Kiran Matt. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, buddy. I've got a little bit of a cold today, so forgive me if I sound a little bit nasal, but I'm in good spirits. I'm not letting it get me down. I'm good. I'm looking forward to our little chat today. I have no idea what we're going to chat about. I think it's going to be a whole mixture of stuff, which is going to be cool. But I'm good, pal. How are you? How's your week been?
Yeah, good. Busy. It's busy, like you say. I mean, I've got a day off today, so as always with my work, if I have to take a day off, then I tend to have to compact a week's worth of work down into 4 days kind of thing. But otherwise, yeah, I'm all good. Looking forward to a drive down to Kent to do a wedding gig tonight with a band that I det for, so that should be fun. It's a bigger band as well again, so keys, horns and stuff, so I can just kind of play around a bit during the night. There's a few slight change in the set because there's a different singer, so there's a few rockier things in there, so a bit more fun, a bit of a change up. So yeah, should be all right. Should be a good gig. Looking forward to it.
Oh mate, that sounds great. You've been busy though as well. You sent me just a nice little innocuous text last night that just dropped into the phone, and your pedal board has changed again, so we're going to have to talk about that, because that looked damn sexy for sure. And I love the way you just went, oh yeah, by the way, I've been buying a few things, and I just looked at that board and I was like, oh, that must sound amazing. And then I've just noticed you've got a bass rig behind you.
Bass guitar, yeah. I've found.
What's going on?
Well, I've been trying. I try and write stuff at home as well, not songs really, just trying to write, sounds, if you like, because I do have this kind of ambition in my mind. I've always had that I'd like to write music for kind of like production libraries and stuff like that. People could use them in their own media and things, and as a hobby, I'd love to do that. And the kind of stuff I'd like to do is really just what sounds like a rock band kind of thing, just instrumental rock music. And I've kind of got everything I need to do that except a bass. And then I was looking on Gumtree this week for second-hand instruments, and that popped up, and it's basically, it looks like a Music Man Stingray, but it's made by a company called Westfield, so it's only like a cheap bass.
I know Westfield.
Yeah, I got it for a steal. I got it for like 50 quid, which is fantastic. The only thing wrong with it, it's got one tuning peg broken, which I can still tune it though if I use a screwdriver. Just the handle is basically snapped away.
I see.
But I bought it and I've been playing around with it. I don't really play bass very well at all. Like all guitarists, I know I can navigate my way around a fretboard, but I sound like a guitarist trying to play bass.
Yeah, same.
But that's why I got it, because I just wanted. I thought, well, now I've got what I need to kind of, just play around recording some stuff.
Brilliant.
Trying to make some bits and pieces, because it's like the track that the track that we use at the beginning of the podcast when I'm doing stuff like that.
Which you recorded all that.
That's it. Yeah, I recorded that, and that's all like programmed drums and my guitar, but the bass in that is actually a bass sample sound played on keyboard. And I always wish you just had a proper rocking bass kind of thing. So I might update that at some point. Actually there has been quite a lot of gear changes here recently. I'm in the midst of, selling some stuff now to kind of recoup. Although, I still don't know what I'm going to sell. I've still not decided that some of the things I've bought are the right thing, because a lot of them are kind of Reverb and eBay bargains.
So this is your board. This is your new board, right?
This is my new board, yeah.
Shall we ever talk us through it? I'm going to pull up a picture on my phone while I'm talking to you, so I can have a look at it.
Let me take you through the signal chain. So what happened was, this started really last year, just before lockdown, where I decided after doing some gigs the previous year that I really was a bit fed up of having a fairly heavy rig, quite lots of stuff to carry around, big heavy amp, and I wanted an easier life, knowing that most of the gigs that I do really are deck gigs in long drives away, not in a simple pub. The deck gigs are long drive away, and you tend to be playing in venues that don't have easy load-ins, difficult to get in and out of. So I thought I just want to have a rig that is simpler for me to kind of use, but also more lightweight, a little bit less cumbersome. And that's when I bought the orange Terra Stamp, because that's a guitar amp that sits on your board. And I really like it, but it's sound-wise, it's not as versatile as I needed it to be. And then what I decided to do, like shooting forward in time a bit to more recent, I decided to keep my eye out for a preamp pedal of some kind that would give me a more kind of a better amp-like sound, but I could still use the Terra Stamp effectively as just a board-mounted power amp. And that's when I dropped on the Victory Countess preamp, which actually, I got for a steal. I sold a couple of things, purchased that.
That's a stunning preamp.
It sounds fantastic. I'm really only using one channel at the moment. The clean channel on it breaks up beautifully when it's cranked. It's kind of like a Fender Deluxe-y kind of thing going on.
No.
So that's fantastic. That's exactly the kind of sound I wanted. And the second channel's got this real Marshall-y thing going on, but maybe a bit more between a Marshall and a more high gain, like Mezza.
Oh, really? So you got a lot of versatility there on that one preamp.
There, yeah. That's the Guthrie Govan, amp, basically.
That's right.
Kind of what it's based on. So it sounds fantastic. So I updated. The board I was running before then was basically it was the Terra Stamp with just a couple of pedals, which was the Spark Mini Boost, which I really like, and like a clone, a little mini clone kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which I use as a gainy pedal. I know a lot of people use a clone as like a mid boost, almost clean. I prefer it as a gain pedal.
Cool.
And that was going into a TC Electronic system, and then into the Countess, and that sounded okay, but I was really frustrated with some technical issues I was getting with the TC Electronic. Couldn't get it to sit well in loop as a loop only system, so I wasn't using any of the drives. And I thought, well, why don't I just go back to pedals? So that's where I am now. So I've still got the TC. I'm going to sell that. But what I've updated now is I've got my guitar goes onto the board. I hit my mini boost, which I'm going to drop that, and I'm going to replace that with a tuner, because believe it or not, I don't have a tuner pedal, because I've always relied on either like a Snark on my headstock or the tuner that's built into the TC Electronic Nova system. And so I'm probably going to drop the Spark Boost and put a polytuner in there at some point. That then goes into that. Yeah, and I think I'm going to miss that if I don't have it, especially just for muting. And then that goes into that little clone, which is another mini pedal size thing, a Mosky clone, cheap kind of, one of those cheap clones that people have. I mean, you've got a fairly cheap clone, haven't you? But it's not a mini.
Yeah, I have. I have, and I really like it. It's still on the board, and I use it as my kind of always on.
Yeah.
Clean, ever so slightly broken up sound, because I'm playing into a Fender Blues Deluxe on the clean channel. I'm not a huge fan of the drive channel on it. I know a lot of people aren't huge fans of the drive channel on the Blues Deluxe, particularly. The Hot Rod Deluxe is a little bit more gritty, but the Blues Deluxe it doesn't have much gain in it. So when I replaced the speaker, it did massively improve the versatility of the drive channel. But I just love the clean channel, and then the way it takes pedals. And if I put the clone that I've got, it's this one that I got off Wish.com for like 50 quid. It was the one that you can look up on YouTube and stuff, where it sounds remarkably good considering its price. And yeah, I use it as you said, a lot of people do, which is just as the first kind of gain stage in my signal chain, just pushing the amp a little bit, even for clean work, but just with a slight bit of grit, because in a live situation, being super clean and super jangly, unless you're playing like funky stuff or really clean stuff where you want it to sparkle. If I'm playing rock stuff, a rock clean sound isn't ever purely clean. It's got a little bit
exactly. You want a little bit of
just a little bit of something on it, a little bit of hair on it, tiny bit of hair on it.
Exactly. That's how I like a clean sound to be as well. I wanted the clean sound to be when I've got if I'm in like an out of phase position, it sounds clean. But if I go to the humbucker at the bridge and dig in, it sounds crunchy. That's the perfect kind of clean sound for me. And like I said, that orange stamp that I have, it's just straight ahead clean, was great. It's really rocky, kind of, it's almost fuzzy. It's great for a solo tone, is good too. But that crunch part is just, it's a little bit too orange. A little bit too orange sounding, a little bit too kind of in your face. So, and although it's a great little bit of kit. It's the kind of thing really that is good to keep in a gig bag, almost as a get out of jail kind of, little amp if you ever need one. But it's really usable. But the tone, because it's just got this tone control on it rather than an EQ. It can be quite
a very orange thing, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It can be quite hard when you need to adjust the sound the way you want it, because it doesn't have a more standard kind of bass, mid, and treble EQ, which this Victory preamp does. So I'm coming out of this little clone, and now I'm going into a T-Rex Moller drive, which is a dual boost and drive. So it's basically kind of like a slightly modded Tube Screamer type sound with clean boost, but it's got a cool little mix knob on it, which means you can mix the clean signal with the drive.
Ooh, I'm looking at the picture of it now. It looks wicked. It looks great.
It's cool. It sounds really great, really natural. Does the same thing a Tube Screamer does, where it really tightens up that bottom end. You can hear the bottom end drop out a little bit, but it comes out in the mix. And the boost, it's got a nice up to, I think, 20 decibel boost on it, which I've got cranked, because the boost on its own into the Countess, straight into the Countess, sounds fantastic. So I can turn those things on individually as well. Some like dual drive or drive and boost pedals, you can't turn the boost on unless the drive's already on, but these two, they operate completely independently. And you've got a voice function on it as well, which is like another bit of contouring or tone shaping as well, is it? It basically makes it into more of a full range drive. So you can either click the voice down and you can hear the bottom end come back in.
Nice.
Or I leave it kind of in the Tube Screamer type thing, because I think, I'm
like that mid push.
Yeah, that's it. It's better for the mix as well, I think.
Yeah. Nice. Lovely looking pedal.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really great. And it's a T-Rex as well, which is a fantastic brand, forgotten Danish brand really, that makes superb stuff.
Cool.
Sorry to interrupt this super interesting conversation. However, if you've made it this far, maybe you should subscribe to the Guitar Smarts podcast. Go and do that now, and then let's get right back to it.
Then that goes into a TC Electronic June 60 chorus, which is again, I was just looking for chorus pedals and I saw that one going. Somebody was selling that really, really good value on Reverb, and I thought I'll go and listen to some demos of it, and it sounded great. And I really like the idea of it having this inbuilt sound that you can't alter. You just got to select one of basically three sounds. It's either one, two, or both of them together.
Yeah.
And what that's based on, it's based on an old synthesizer by who did I think it was a Yamaha synth, the Juno synth. It might be Roland, might be Yamaha. Not a synth guy.
Yeah, I know the Juno synth. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, so that had an inbuilt chorus, and that's what it's based on. It's not an exact sound of it, but that's what it's based on, and the aesthetic of the pedal as well.
It looks like a synth. Yeah, it looks like an old 70s synth.
Yeah,
but like in pedal format. It's awesome. Yeah.
And it sounds great. It's very kind of swirly chorus sound. I love chorus for cleans and stuff, and on particular songs, and I think it's essential as well for some songs. Like in the set that we'll do tonight, there are things like Uptown Funk, not Downtown Funk, like I said the other week. Uptown Funk, which I think needs chorus on the guitar, and also that Whitney Houston track, "Wanna Dance for Somebody." That's classic 80s track's got to have a bit of chorus on the guitar. So things like that.
I love chorus. Even chorus is one of those effects where I think it's brilliant just subtly on a nice bit of clean guitar, just to add a bit of richness and a bit of kind of extra interest on it. But also like a massively chorus guitar sound also sounds fantastic. I think it's one of those effects that just has a lot of versatility and applicability to different songs, whether you use it in light, like kind of judicious amounts, or whether you just go for it, just go, there's going to be a boatload of chorus on this, and you just go, but it sounds really cool. Exactly. I love it. Great effect.
I love chorus, and and you hear so much of it on 80s music, 80s rock, stuff like that. I've got the clean guitars have always got loads of delay, loads of chorus, loads of reverb. I love that lush kind of soundscape that you get on a guitar. It just sounds fantastic.
I mean, we've spoken a lot about our love of Clapton's kind of 80s stuff, and we spoke a lot about the kind of John Mayer tone that he's got now, kind of harking back to Clapton's kind of 80s tone and stuff. And I'm sure there's like a light little smattering of chorus on those dirty tones just to give it that kind of extra richness.
Oh yeah. Nice. There has to be. I mean, it's sometimes. I mean, chorus is. I mean, it's meant to simulate, like, if you were to multi-track, if you were to play the same guitar solo twice in a recording, the sound of like an ensemble of instruments. If you go to to an opera or something, you hear an orchestra playing, and all those violins playing the same note or the same melody at the same time. They have this natural chorusing effect because they're all playing so well, but they'll be slightly out of tune with each other or sound slightly differently and come in and out of tune with each other over time. And that sound, expands the feeling of what's being played. That's what chorus is. That's what a chorus pedal's trying to do. What a chorus pedal actually does is basically you'll notice if you go online and look at chorus pedals, you'll notice there's a lot of pedals out there that do chorus and vibrato, because all a chorus pedal is a vibrato effect with the dry effect mixed in with it, so that you hear the chorus sound is just that coming and going, that difference in pitch between your signal and the dry and the chorus signal, the vibrato signal, and mixed together you get that chorus effect. And different speeds and different depths of the vibrato create those different chorusing sounds. So that's all of it. A chorus is. It's just replicating what it sounds like to. It's as if you were to record 2 or 3 rhythm tracks that are playing exactly the same thing and then play them all back, you probably start to hear a natural chorusing effect from the slightly different pitch changes and things. But then out of the chorus, I'm now coming back into the Countess on the guitar input. Okay, so the Countess then receives from the chorus into the front end of the preamp, and the Countess has this really great thing. Well, you'll notice on the pedals on the front of it, you've got channel 1, channel 2 switch and a bypass switch. And what Martin Kidd at Victory's done in his genius is built in the ability to do the 4-cable method into this preamp pedal. So the routing now from the pedal is I've gone into the guitar input on the Countess. I then have an output into the orange Terra Stamps preamp in, so the guitar in. I then bring the FX send of that orange amp back into the Countess. And then the effects return from the Countess goes through my time-based pedals, which is a Fox Geo Echo Sex Mini, which is basically an Echoplex type delay. So tape type delay sounds great. Loads of like modulation on the repeats and things. That goes into just a cheap Biang tri-verb pedal, which has got spring reverb in basically. And then that goes back to the effects return of the Orange.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. And then obviously that's the power amp in the Orange, and that goes out to the speaker. But what that means
so you're putting all your time-based effects in the loop rather than them hitting the preamp first.
But I'm also putting in the loop of the Countess, the preamp of the Orange amp.
Yeah.
So now I've got the clean sound of the Countess, I've got the dirty sound of the Countess, but if I press bypass on the Countess, I still get all my pedals and all my effects, but I get the preamp of the Orange amp. So I've effectively got a 3-channel amp now with all the pedals in the front of it. But I'm probably only ever going to use channel 1 on the Countess, and then for anything more rocky, probably channel 2 for a bit more gain. But it's really versatile rig now, so I'm looking forward to seeing how it kind of performs tonight. Although with the way these gigs have gone, depping for this band, we tend to turn up and set up, not get a sound check, do a line check 10 minutes before the first dance, and then I just have to put up with the fact that I haven't got the sound that I want out of my rig for the whole gig, and it's a compromise, and I can barely hear myself anyway because it's quiet stages. It's just no enjoyment in it anymore.
Yeah.
So now I've done that rig, I'm thinking about the next one already. Yeah, so ideally, there is an ideal situation here that I would like, which is that I have this rig, which I think is going to be perfect for me in terms of doing more of the gigs that I want to do. Playing in a covers band in pubs and stuff, and playing with people and jamming with people I want to play with, doing music I love, because it's got all the sounds in it that I know I like. But, over the next couple of years, what I'd like to do really is maybe invest in something a bit more high-tech. You remember when we had our chat with Rory Harvey?
I do. I was going to mention what he goes out with.
Well, exactly
in terms of a light, convenient rig, and that's the Helix stuff, right?
Helix. That's pretty much what I want to do. I think I want to save up a bit of cash over the coming years and just invest at some point in maybe not even the full Helix, maybe just something like the Helix Stomp on a small board with a drive pedal or a couple of drive pedals in front of it, because then the Helix Stomp can do all the amp simulation, all the amp modeling, all the cabinet simulation, and it can go straight out into a PA or into a full range, a flat response speaker. I can have a few presets on it to trigger effects, and I can have some drives in front of it. And then I've got a rig then where I can turn up with my guitar case and that board and nothing else, plug straight into the PA, and I know I've got sounds in there that work and that are right, and I don't need to do any tweaking.
Why would you put the drive pedals on there? Would you not just use the drives within the Helix?
Well, it depends. If I got the Helix Stomp, you've only got 3 pedals on there. Okay. So if I want to trigger other effects like choruses and delays and things, then I won't be able to trigger drives.
Got you.
So it's there's the larger effects, the Helix Stomp XL, which is probably more suitable. But that Helix Stomp is so small that you could have like a little. There's a great video actually online of a guitarist called Rhett Sull. I don't know if you know the guy.
Oh yeah, I know Rhett Sull. Yeah, he's a good player. Good player.
He built a new fly rig, which is exactly the kind of thing I'm talking about, which is just a HX Stomp. I think a delay pedal and a drive pedal. He's using the HX Stomp to trigger presets in his delay pedal and to send tap information over MIDI. And it's just 3 pedals, basically, a power supply and a tiny board, basically smaller board as you could buy, like a pedal train nano type thing.
Yeah.
But he can get all the sounds he needs out of it for particular gigs, and that means also if he's flying somewhere and he doesn't know what the backline's going to be, he doesn't even have to use the backline if he doesn't want to. With that board, he can go straight into a PA. And like a lot of people are saying now, like Rory said in our conversation with him, and he's seeing more and more people online saying it's really catching up. The digital modeling and profiling. JHS Pedals just did a live show this week where they were talking about Kemper, a profiling app. And obviously Josh Smith, who runs and owns JHS Pedals over in the US, he's a very, very analog person, owns a lot of valve amps, plays in gigs with valve amps. Pedals he designs tend to be analog only pedals. And he said, in that live show, he completely gets it, why people are going out with Kempers. Because one, they sound fantastic. He can't hear the difference. between profile of an old Fender Blackface Super and a real one that he owns. Can't hear the difference. Wow. But also, he said this is what you're hearing when you listen to something like a Helix or a Kemper. You're hearing what sounds like a guitar amp in a studio with a good microphone that's been engineered well, going through a really great sounding preamp and desk, and that's been recorded and mixed beautifully. That's not what you get when you take your valve amp to a gig. You get just a Shaw SM57 stuffed or hung in front of it through a PA that's had no time to be EQ'd properly.
Yeah. With your amp not maybe running at the right volumes you want it to create that sound, because it's it's not the right venue to.
Yeah, that's why all these guys go out with Kempers or Helixes and things like that, because not only are they really convincing sound, but they're top quality tones straight out the cable without having to worry about microphones and volume and room EQ and things like that. And that's something to consider, I think, for the future. Because like I said, part of this rig change that I did over the last year came out of wanting to have a more convenient experience when I'm gigging. And I think there's still work to be done there. But what I've got at the moment, I think, is the best compromise I could have hoped for between something that's going to satisfy, the kind of the more basic tones and the more, standard guitarist requirements that I have in my mind, and it also is still a convenient setup for a gig. And the great thing I love about it as well is it takes me so little time to set up, because I've got a nice little IEC strip built in under the board. So I have one power that goes in and that powers everything. The pedal power supply, the Countess's own power supply, Terrastamp's power supply. And because the amp is on my board, I don't have to also power an amp behind me. So I turn up to the gig, one power cable, I've got one speaker cable going to the cab and one guitar cable going to the board, and that's it. I'm set up. So I do love the convenience of it, which is great.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
But yeah, so that's where I am with my rig at the moment. Still got the Strat and the Les Paul and all those new guitars other than the bass. But yeah.
Well, let's see how it goes tonight, mate. I hope you have a good gig with it tonight. Yeah, I want to hear how it goes. I want to know what the absolute standout pedal was from the new board, the one where you just go, oh, yes,
I know which one it's going to be.
Do you know? Do you?
Yeah.
God.
It's going to be the Moller, going to be that T-Rex drive pedal.
Yeah.
Because in what because I have been trying it at home, both through the cab quietly, but also actually into the computer. So I can output it straight into the computer, not going through the amp, straight out of the preamp, and then in my workstation, in my audio workstation, I can use like a cabinet and amp simulation software to make it sound like it's coming out of an amp, and it just responds so beautifully to being hit. That preamp responds beautifully to being hit by that T-Rex so fantastically. And with the preamp set so that it's on that, cusp of drive and clean, it just works so well in different pickup positions, and then adding drive or adding boost or both for different things. So, and that's the one thing I've always struggled with, is getting the balance right between those different gain staging levels. And I think because this T-Rex pedal is designed so well, it's easy to get the balance right between clean, crunch and solo kind of tones, which is your bread and butter, right? Isn't it? Whatever gig you go to,
that's it.
Whatever you're doing, as long as you can keep a clean sound, a crunchy sound, and a solo lead tone, and maybe even just as a bonus, boost your clean tone a little bit for a clean solo tone. Then that's all you really need, isn't it? I think so.
Don't forget metal tone.
I haven't got that.
How many stages of gain staging? Because like for ages it was just literally that for me. Clean, then a crunchy tone, and then a lead solo tone. And then now somehow I've managed to find like it's like a hobbit when they eat meals for the day. I've somehow managed to find additional layers of gain staging in the same way that they find additional meals that sit in between breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I've somehow managed to find like the intervals of gain staging that I didn't know existed before this new band. So, and they all take the piss out of me for too many pedals.
Do they really?
Well, I mean, they say too many. I say that this is what a professional guitar rig looks like.
Yeah, exactly. And it does. Because you don't have that many, though, do you?
I don't. No, I don't.
Give us a run through. Just give us a run through of what your current signal chain is.
You want the whole signal chain?
Yeah,
I want to see the whole. Okay, right. So the whole signal chain is guitar goes straight into the well, first of all, I've got a wireless Line 6 receiver on the board as an option. But the way in which I've cabled it is it's very easy for me to either switch between a wireless kind of setup for the gig, or if it's a small pub gig and it's just not necessary to go wireless, I can just plug straight in with a guitar lead. So that's kind of the first thing, is there's an option to decide first and foremost whether I patch in with a guitar lead or not. So that's easy. Then it's straight into a Polytune Mini, which if you are thinking of getting a Polytune for your board, I highly recommend the Mini. One, because it takes up less space, but it still has that great Polytune feature, which does work, where you can just strum all 6 strings simultaneously, and it will tell you how far off correct they are relative to where they should be, which is a brilliant little feature. And as you say, I learned this trick from you. I use it as a muting tool as well, which is great between songs. Just stamp on it at the end of songs when I want
exactly.
to. So, mate, I'm honestly, that's one bit of advice that you gave me that is just like a game changer. I don't know why, but for years I've just habitually had one pickup, like with the volume wound down towards the end of a song, so I can just use the pickup selector switch to quickly flick to that to kill the sound. So there's no, or quickly wind down the volume knob at the end of the song, so there's no extraneous noise. But like that little bit of advice that you gave was like, oh yeah, that's so obvious and so simple. Why have I not thought of that? There's a pedal right there on the board where if I just hit that, it just mutes everything.
It's the mute.
So so tuner is useful for that as well. So then tuner, right, and then we're into the gain staging. No, we're not. See, I do have too many pedals. Now we're into a wah.
Oh, of course.
So Jim Dunlop Crybaby wah, which my dad bought me when I was 15 years old.
You still got that one? Still got that?
Yeah, that's cool. It's literally lasted me and been gigged. Every gig I've ever played live, I've always had that wah pedal. It's exactly the same wah pedal.
Reminds me of the old story you told me, which is obviously with that one, where you did some recording, was it, when you were younger? And somebody said to you, it sounds great, but it sounds like you just bought a wah pedal.
Literally just bought a wah, yeah. Good song, mate, that you've written, but yeah, did you just buy a wah pedal? Yes, I did. So yeah, it's still got that wah and it's still going strong. I mean, I've literally changed every part on it. It's probably not the original wah that I bought in the first place. It's had about 17 different wah pots.
Wah equivalent of Trigger's broom, isn't it?
It literally is. So if for our international audience listening, there's a sitcom, a very old British sitcom called Only Fools and Horses, which go and check it out. It's hilarious. We grew up on it, but in that sitcom there's a guy called Trigger who has a broom that he's owned for like, I don't know, 30 years, and he's only changed the handle 20 times and the brush head 50 times, but it's never let him down, this broom. It's lasted him. So that my wah pedal's kind of like that. I've had to replace every part on it at some point because it's broken, but I've still had that wah since I was 15 years old.
Next time you gig, I want you to look down at that just before you step on it and just remind yourself it's Trigger's broom. You'll giggle. You'll have a little giggle to yourself mid-gig just before you do that. Sweet
I will.
Outro.
I will. Literally, just wetting myself with laughter. Then, all right. So now we're into the gain staging. Yeah. So first and foremost, we're into that clone, that wish.com clone, which I think is superb. It sounds really, really good. So I use it in a couple of different ways. One, I use it as a kind of clean, crunchy boost, just to put a little bit of hair on any clean tones that I'm wanting to do for certain songs. I also use it to just bump some of the other drive pedals that I might use, because it just helps cut through the mix a little bit on certain sounds. So that's the first drive stage. Then I'm into the Way Huge Super Terrific Overdrive that you recommended to my wife. That is a great pedal. Really, really nice pedal. So that's my crunchy, dirty kind of rhythm type tone, but it's really versatile, that pedal. You hit it with the clon in front of it, it, and it can be a really nice bluesy lead tone. It's a good pedal. What does it go into next? My favorite, which is the Super Badass Distortion.
Yeah, MXR.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's literally a Marshall JCM 800 in a box. It's superb. It's absolutely brilliant for all that kind of Guns N' Roses type tone and AC/DC type tone and Motley Crue and stuff. It's just got that 80s, JCM 800 Silver Jubilee type highly driven sound. It's brilliant. With the Les Paul, it just sounds great. And then because that wasn't enough gain staging, and then for some of the metal numbers that we do, I actually use a Proco Rat.
That's a good high. That's a classic high gain kind of thing, isn't it?
I use that for my kind of a little bit sometimes in combination with the Clon and pushing the Rat. I get my kind of Metallica type tones that I need for those Metallica numbers that we do. I mean, it's not identical, but it is definitely a high gain metal tone that I get out of that combination. Wow. So yeah, that's what's on the board. And then I've got like chorus, delay, a reverb pedal if I need it. So yeah, that's quite a lot of pedals, isn't it? But
that's not too bad. I think that's pretty conservative for a lot of people. If you get a lot of people these days, you might only have a few pedals, but for some people they'll have things like Strymon timelines and stuff which are £400, $500 worth of delay pedal and things like that. I think that's pretty conservative. And hey, here's an interesting thing. So you love that STO pedal. You really like your MXR Super Badass. So that's George Trips.
Oh, I really do.
George Trips for both, because he's pretty much over recent years, MXR, one of the head designers there. Where Huge is his thing. But years ago, you were a Line 6 guy, weren't you, for a long time?
Yeah, for a long time. Because of exactly all the reasons that you said, which is the convenience of not having to take too much out. I was always a little bit perplexed and mystified by pedals, the interplay between pedals, gain staging, what to run in a loop, what not to run in a loop. All of that kind of stuff kind of filled me with anxiety and kind of nervousness. And so when somebody said, look, there's this company that's doing this stuff that's modeled, it's all in one floor-based unit, and you can just program it to create the signal chain that you want, and there's plenty of little, and literally just stomp on a button and it will configure it all to that particular sound you're after. I was like, well, that's surely the way forward. Which it was for me for a while, but I always had to concede that the sound and the tone was never going to quite replace the feeling of playing through a proper guitar pedal amp type rig. But that was, I don't know, 20 years ago, I was using that type of setup. Now, fast forward 20 years, and now people are going, okay, yeah, that Line 6 stuff back in the day, the pods and all of that, they were pretty good and pretty innovative, right, in their approach and the convenience they were offering, but there was always something a little bit lacking. Now, we're having discussions around Kemper and Helix where you go, well, there is no compromise now. You're getting the sound and you're getting the convenience, and you don't feel like you're compromising on one of those.
The DSP,
other than the
DSP capabilities caught up now in terms of processing power that you can recreate the things. But do you know who it was who Line 6 poached away from MXR to do the original pod and all the pods too?
No.
George Tripp.
Go on. My God, who is this guru?
He's the man. People like him, Robert Keeley, those guys are, responsible for so much in guitar sounds, almost more than people think.
God bless them.
Yeah.
And their naming and their obscure naming of the Way Huge pedals. That's made my week.
I didn't realize until this week I was reading that George Tripp was, heavily involved in early Line 6 development of the pod and Pod XT and the stuff, like that floorboard you had. I can't remember which one it was, like the XT Live
Pod XT.
or something like that. That's all George Tripp stuff. So
I've still got it. I've still got it here.
Yeah. They're great. I thought it sounded fantastic when you gigged with it, especially because you had the variant. variacs as well, because you had
Still
the
got that,
variacs connected
yeah.
up properly. So in your presets, you were changing your guitar types as well, weren't you? I guess in some...
Yeah, you could literally press on one button and go from a 12-string Martin acoustic, press another button right next to it, and it would switch your entire rig to like a Fender Strat through a Blues Deluxe. Yeah, it was great. It was brilliant, the versatility of it, and it was more than a gimmick. It was usable and it was convincing, but it was still, it didn't have any of the authenticity or kind of romance around it, and arguably wasn't exactly. But I might have to plug that in this weekend and just see if it all works.
Yeah, you should.
What it sounds like. Yeah, I'm quite intrigued. Oh. Do you want some guitar news?
Yeah.
Shall we have some guitar news?
Let's do some guitar news.
Clapton's got a new album.
Apparently so. Yeah.
Oh, have you heard about this?
I have heard about it. Yeah.
It's like it's like a remake of the MTV Unplugged sessions.
Apparently so.
Oh.
I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with Clapton at the moment.
I can tell by the tone of your voice. You sound neither excited nor impressed. You sound almost full of disdain for your guitar hero.
I just find
what's happened
musically, like anything he does recently musically, I find a little bit kind of meh.
Yeah.
He's the stance he's taken recently of a little bit of a damaging stance potentially for him to come out, because he's had a bad experience with being vaccinated, and now he's saying that he's pretty much anti-vax. Come on, you shouldn't be making comments like that. You're a guitarist and a rock star, and you come from a privileged position. So I find him a little bit difficult to swallow at the moment. Not to say that I don't still love his music, but yes, I will be listening to that, because I think it's his band, isn't it? It's Nathan East, Steve Gadd, Chris Stenson, I think, on keys. And I'm looking at the set list of what he's recorded. There's some stuff in there I've never heard him play before, so I will give it a listen at some point. But yeah, that's surprising, really, isn't it? Sometimes he does this though, doesn't he? You just suddenly realise, he's recorded an album, and out it comes.
Yeah, well, he couldn't make any money from his Royal Albert Hall final gig, annual thing. Every year it's the final gig at the Albert Hall.
Exactly.
It's
been saying that since, crikey, what was it? Do you remember when we talked about the record shop and stuff and listening to albums when the podcast did a few weeks ago? And you talked about, you went to Ben's Collector's Records in Guildford. Shout out to those guys. Fantastic place. You went there, and one of the albums you bought was Clapton live at the Budokan 2001.
Yeah, I did.
So that tour, me and my dad saw him at the same tour in Manchester. And in the program notes, he spoke about it being probably his last world tour. This is 20 years ago. This is how long he's been talking about retiring and not wanting to carry on anymore, because he's scared that he's going to get to a point where he's embarrassing himself, and he doesn't want it to get like that, because obviously he's now got health conditions where I think he's got something called neuropathy, which is affecting obviously his ability to control his limbs and feelings and things like that. So at some point he's not going to be able to do it anymore. But he's been talking about this for 20 years, which is just, amazing.
Damien Lodrick and I went to see him at the Albert Hall probably 6 years ago, maybe longer. Maybe longer than that.
Last time I saw him was at the Royal Albert Hall, and probably I think might have been the same tour that you saw at the Albert Hall. It was the 70th birthday kind of period. Yeah,
that's the one. That's the one.
Yeah, when we had Nathan East on bass again, and Nathan was singing "Can't Find My Way."
That's
home,
right.
The highlight of the gig for me was that song.
I agree.
Superb. Yeah,
I agree. But that was supposed to be his last gig at the Albert Hall as well.
6 years later, 76 years old.
Well, I'm going to listen to this when it comes out.
Yeah.
With arguably less disdain than you. And let's see. There is a little clip. There is a little clipette on the internet where you can have a look and see what it's all about. But it'll be interesting to see if it captures the same magic of the MTV Unplugged sessions, of which a number of these players were on as well. Cool.
Yeah.
Other guitar news? What else? What else is new in the guitar world? Well, here you go. Here's something which I think just in time for Christmas. Let me see. Can I even share my screen with you? How do I do that? Here. Let me put a URL in the chat function. That'll be easier. Right, here you go. Click on that bad boy.
Not the same URL that I had.
Yay!
No way.
Yes way.
No.
Tell me you don't want that. Tell me you don't want that.
This is okay. So before listeners are going, tell us what you're looking at. Going on. So what Kiran has done, he sent me a link to Lego.com. So, if you're into Lego or Legos, as you say in the US, the little toy plastic bricks that you can build into various different things. So there is now a Fender Stratocaster Lego kit. I mean, it's like it's $100.
Yeah, but Lego's expensive anyway. I thought it might be more than that because Lego, brand new Lego sets are not cheap.
No.
But not only does it have build your own Stratocaster, it also comes with a 65 Princeton reverb amp to build with it. It's a set. It's a set.
I love the fact there's a picture of a guy who's just built it looking down the neck as if he's checking like twist on the neck or something like that, and just making sure it's set up fret level properly.
I
mean, that is
so
pretty
want
incredible.
One of those.
That is pretty cool.
It's brilliant.
It's got a tremolo arm on it and everything, and the guitar kit cable, 3 pickups, 3 control. Oh my god, my favourite part. If you look down one of the pictures, you can lift the lid on the Princeton, and you can see all the circuitry inside.
Yeah, I know. It's got all the valves in the back. It's got all the speaker magnet. It's awesome.
I got goosebumps then looking at that. That's incredible. The detail. It's.
Look at the strap as well. It's a proper little Fender strap.
I mean, that is so cool. My son's just got into Lego recently as well because he's been watching the Lego movies. So we've bought him some Lego and a couple of little kits for things like Minecraft and Lego movie stuff. And we've been building them with him. So he's getting into Lego. This is cool though.
Yeah, my kids love Lego. Yeah, this is one that I would definitely be building myself though.
This is way cooler than a Murphy Lab Gibson. I'm sorry.
Isn't it? And yours for only $99. So that's $99 US.
That's it.
So that'll probably come out at 80 quid in the UK.
Something like that. That's pretty cool. I've got some of the guitar news. I'm gonna give you a link.
Go for it.
Boss have come out with a new guitar. Did you know?
Who have?
Boss.
The
pedal maker and effects
Boss
maker.
of Katana and pedal.
They've brought out a new guitar.
Oh, hello.
Called the Urus GS1. It's a cutting-edge Boss electronic guitar crafted in Japan for bold sound innovators. Seamlessly switch between synthesizer and regular guitar sounds. 6 onboard memories for storing different synth sounds. Premium playability. It's a nice-looking guitar, actually, isn't it?
It really is.
It's a beautiful-looking guitar. The Urus concept presents a bold new creative path for adventurous sonic explorers, expanding the traditional guitar experience with powerful and expressive Boss technology. Wow. Deep, inspiring, and infinitely playable, the Urus GS1 will take your musical vision where it's never gone before. This is, I really want to hear this, and I think from scanning over YouTube recently, I think Pete Thorne's just done a demo of it, which I'm interested to hear because his gear demos are the best there are, I think, online.
Yeah,
his gear demos are fantastic.
Great. And he tells everyone that you should listen to the Guitar Smarts podcast as well.
He does, actually. He has said that before. I should remind people that he has told people to go and check out Guitar Smarts.
He has. Thanks, Pete. That was awesome.
Yeah. Came at a cost, but thanks. Wireless performance control. This looks interesting. So go out and check out. I mean, if you like, I like vintage stuff. I like classic looking stuff. I'm a big fan of, innovation and new technologies in any, thing. And we've spoken about this before. There seems to be a snobbery in the guitar world where people think that the more vintage, the better, the Murphy Lab.
Seems to be a snobbery. Seems to be, mate. Have you ever watched a video of Joe Bonamassa? Jesus.
Yeah, I know. He doesn't like these newfangled 70s guitars, does he? But but
newfangled 70s.
Yeah, but I don't mind people liking, old stuff because old stuff is fantastic. A lot of it is just like there's a mojo to it, and time has done something to those instruments that has made them something better. Partly because of all the natural materials and things. But what is there not to like about a brand new 24 fret Bluetooth guitar with inbuilt synthesizer sounds that you can still play everything on that you can play on an old guitar? I mean, the fact that there are people out there still looking to use new technologies to improve, to use technology that wasn't made for instruments and using it to improve instruments. that's amazing. Why shouldn't we celebrate that? Why shouldn't we look at things with an open mind and say, I'd like to try that out. I mean, who knows what that could do for my playing or my creativity.
So tell us who this type of guitar would be for in terms of some of the feature set on it. I mean, obviously any guitarist could use this, plug this in, gig it, and have a beautiful guitar that, Japanese workmanship on guitars is well renowned in terms of what comes out of that country in terms of production quality. So, on face value, you are getting a beautiful made instrument, which has got, many different pickup configurations to choose. You've got a really nice trem, and it'll be a beautiful playing guitar. But the bonus of this is you are getting some Boss wizardry in it to enable this kind of MIDI capability. Now, MIDI is not a new thing on a guitar. This has been around since Roland
70s.
In the 80s.
70s.
Wow.
There were MIDI guitars and synths. Casio made some, I think, late 70s, early 80s. They've been around. Guitar synthesization has been around for a long time.
Right. So why would Boss do this now? And what do we think is behind the thinking of bringing something like this to the market?
Yeah.
How would you, I mean, presumably for the session or studio guitarist, or even for somebody just doing some recording stuff at home, this is going to be an incredibly versatile piece of kit now, above and beyond what they might already have.
Absolutely. Well, I think if you're let's say you are somebody who creates music at home, maybe for media, or you're a songwriter, or, if you're a guitarist and you want to have, say, synth sounds in your music and you don't manage well on a keyboard, this is a great way of having an alternative way of recording and creating some of those sounds that you would do on a keyboard usually instead, but you can, play it on guitar. I think it's great for anyone really who's looking to experiment with different sounds. If you're in a band, maybe that, you want to fill out the sound a bit more with synth sounds and you're looking for a keyboard player, well, maybe you don't need a keyboard player. Maybe one of the guitarists can now play guitar and have synth sounds in the background as well, because I think you can mix the sound of the two on this guitar. It doesn't have to be one or the other. You can have a volume control up so that you can have, if you're playing chords or strumming chords, you can also have a synth pad in the background that is coming out of that. So I'd say anyone who wants to, who has a desire to express themselves through different sounds from different instruments but can't play those instruments, this might be a way to facilitate that without having to learn a different instrument. Cool. I remember my very first guitar teacher, Chris Sadgerson, who actually is no longer with us, but was a fantastic guitarist. And his home recording setup, he had this amazing Ibanez guitar. He had like a Mesa Boogie amp and stuff, but for most of the lessons, he'd play through like a Digitech preamp, and he'd record onto like a little Apple Mac that he had at the time, an old one, really old thing that was like an inbuilt computer and monitor. But he also had a Roland guitar synth as well. His Ibanez guitar had the old, the little pickup you could attach on and wire that in. So if he sometimes wanted to record a track for me to play over, if we were doing some improvisation, or whatever, he'd say, let's record a track so that you can come up with some chord ideas yourself to play over. He'd just use the synth to do a drum track. So he'd be playing the drums on his guitar because you can trigger all those MIDI sounds through. So it's not just about strange sounds and synthesizer pads and things like that. You can use it for triggering other MIDI triggered things like drum samples and stuff. And you'd be able to just pull a track together super easy doing that. So if you're a guitarist and you probably feel quite restricted to that instrument, you're not a multi-instrumentalist like some people are lucky to be and have worked hard to be, then this is probably a really interesting tool for you to try out. But genuinely, for years, I've thought guitars that have come out that have been like this have always looked and seemed a little bit rubbish. This looks like it looks like a killer guitar. It really does look fantastic. It looks really well made.
It does.
It looks very high quality.
Oh, it will be. It will be. Looking at the spec list on it, I mean, they haven't put rubbish stuff into it. So I mean, it's got Goto hardware and it's made in Japan. So the stainless steel of the frets and stuff like that is going to be decent quality. So yeah, you can tell. It's a proper rosewood fingerboard. None of this imitation or just a lot of guitar manufacturers at the moment are using cheaper, not necessarily anything bad about them, but certainly cheaper, darker woods that approximate the look of rosewood, because rosewood's getting more more expensive, and certain species of it are not usable anymore,
not very
and things like that.
sustainable,
But yeah, exactly. But looking at the spec list of this, it looks like they've kitted it out well. Very interesting. Nice bit of guitar news there, mate.
Yeah, I mean that's cool. I'm looking forward to hearing more from that guitar.
I wonder how much it is.
Yeah,
don't know. It doesn't say yet, does it?
Boss though, isn't it? I reckon it's probably going to be a fairly pleasantly surprising price.
You think so? Less than $1,000?
So. I reckon if it's around $1,000 to $1,500, that's probably. I reckon that would be quite reasonably priced for that kind of instrument. But also, what's it up against?
Oh, not a lot these days, is it? Is there? I mean, it's not really competing with the Variax type stuff because this is MIDI versus kind of modelled stuff. I suppose you could still get the kind of Roland MIDI attachment thing for your guitar, but I'm just trying to look up the. It's quite expensive actually. It's double what we thought. It's $2,000.
Is it really? So I'd say that's fairly expensive for what it is. I think, like I said, if you're buying that for a very specific need, then fair enough. But if you're unsure if you need it, that's a lot of outlay, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you're thinking, I might like it,
Yeah. I mean, it's going to cost you the same as an American Fender Strat, but less than a Gibson standard Les Paul.
Yeah.
So. But everything's probably less than the price of a Gibson standard Les Paul, isn't it? I think a black market kidney's less than the price of a Gibson standard Les Paul these days. Probably.
That's another conversation, isn't it?
Yeah. Let alone if you want a master-built kidney. Oh my God.
Yeah.
A Tom Murphy relict kidney. I don't want to start ranting,
but I was having this rant inside my own head again recently about Murphy lab guitars and just thinking, this is basically, Gibson are just trying to flood the market with fake vintage instruments. That's what they're doing. But anyway, sorry. No. They're not
fake because they are Gibson, technically.
No, but they're fake vintage. That's what they're doing.
I see, yeah.
So they've always done things like Relict or Roadworn or various things like that to make things seem old, and it's never been a case of this is a vintage. This is meant. It's always meant to be something like. There's never been anything. Whereas now it's literally they're trying to say this is a '59 Murphy Lab Gibson Les Paul. It's not a '59 Les Paul. It's a 2021 Les Paul made with materials and everything that came from 2021 and 2020 stuff that you've had in storage for a few years, whatever. But it's not a vintage instrument, but more so than ever, Gibson are selling them as vintage instrument alternatives. And people are lapping them up. And I don't get it. I mean, I do get it because you can have a 59 Les Paul for $10,000 rather than £230,000.
That's it.
I understand if you're somebody who really, really wished you had a 59 Les Paul. You can get a Murphy Lab one, but you've just spent $10,000 on something that isn't a 59 Les Paul still.
No, but it's as close as you could probably get, because not everyone even has access if they wanted to go and buy a 59 Les Paul. It's not like there's billions of them on the market and they just happen to cost $500,000 But if you've got $500,000, you can go and buy it. I mean, most of them are sitting in Joe Bonamassa's house anyway, so you'd have to go and call him up and beg one off of him. What they're selling is the dream, isn't it? They're selling the dream, but I'm just not sure that the dream needs to cost that much because, as I've said before, the component parts and the manufacturing process isn't incrementally better. You haven't made the pickups out of gold or diamond, or you haven't invested additional quality materials beyond a point of that it justifying that money, or even the labor costs that go into it. But we've covered this before, and I do love Gibsons, and I own Gibsons, and I like them and all of that. But just as time goes by, I just care less for the snobbery of it all, and especially when you can get some really beautiful alternatives that are equally, if not more enjoyable to own, and sound just as good.
Completely agree.
A massive shout out to Tokai, who I am just loving playing their guitars at the moment, and they look near as damn it. I mean, some people go, but when you get these Les Paul copies and stuff, they don't copy it quite right, or the cutaway's not right, or the headstock's not right. Go and buy a Tokai. I played a gig the other day at a festival, and some guy came up to me at the end and he was like, "Man, what is that Les Paul that you've got? I've never seen a Gibson Les Paul with that finish before. It sounds absolutely amazing, as you would expect from is it a custom shop reissue? How did you get that finish on it? Because it is a slightly interesting sunburst on it." And it was only when he came up to me, he was just like, "That's not Gibson." And I'm like, "No, it's a Tokai," and he couldn't believe it. He was he knew his guitars. He knew what he was talking about.
Yeah.
He was like, I could have sworn that was a Gibson. He's like, everything about it looks Gibson like.
Yeah, and it's not even one of the Japanese Tokais, is it?
No, it's a made in China one. I told him it cost me $400, and all I did was I changed the pickups and changed the pots in it, so I spent another $100 on it.
Yeah,
and swapped out the electronics, but everything else on it is stock. And it's awesome. So anyway, horses for courses. Do what you like. It's who am I to tell you? We're just naturally tight, Matt, and we don't like spending money unnecessarily when you can get the same thing, but for less. But what do I know?
there you go. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think we'll wrap it up there, mate. I think because we've gone over we've gone over the rigs, and we've done some interesting news there. And although Boss's Eurus GS1 synth, electronic guitars they call it, is an absolutely stunning bit of instrument innovation that we haven't seen for some time. I think it's just pipped to the post really by the Lego Ideas Fender Stratocaster for $99. Comes with the Princeton Reverb guitar
the best bit of guitar news we've heard all week. For October it's available to order, I believe.
That's it.
But I mean, what if they bring out a whole range of these? What if they'll do a Gibson, a Rickenbacker, or a little Martin D28?
Oh, imagine that.
I'd buy them all.
You would, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I'd love to have a little.
What if they did a pedal board? Imagine that. You do a little Lego pedal board with a tube screamer on it and a wah pedal.
Oh, Matt, we should go and work for Lego, man. This is our opportunity to change careers. Absolutely. We should contact Lego and go, look, we've had an idea.
Yeah, do a 4x10 cab with a roadie leaning over, holding his back next to it. There's something. Right into Guitar Smarts, people. Come to our social media pages and give us your funny Lego guitar toy ideas.
Brilliant.
For what Lego can do.
What's next? Yeah. What comes next in the Lego rock and roll lineup? Amazing.
We can do a drum kit as well, but that would be too loud. Yeah, lots of options. Anyway, mate.
On that note, mate,
let's call it a day.
Let's.
Cool. Any plans for the week, mate? Any gigging this weekend?
Yeah, gig tomorrow night. I've got Friday night off tonight, which is good because I've got a bit of a cold that I need to recover from. So I am really looking forward to just chilling out tonight, watching some Netflix, having some nice food, getting a good night's sleep, and then getting back to some rock tomorrow. Oh, mate, and the gig is 15 minutes drive from my house.
Fantastic.
So, do you know, I tell you what, even though I'm gigging quite a lot with this band, the flip side of it is that all of the gigs are less than a 20-25 minute commute from my house. And tomorrow night is like less than 15 minutes. So yeah, that's going to be awesome.
Happy days. I don't have that
easy life.
I don't have that luxury tonight. I'm out in Kent, so it's like maybe 2 hours tops to get to where the gig is. But it's around the M25, so who knows? Could be 3, could be 4 hours. I'm gonna
on a Friday as well, mate.
Probably within the hour, I'm going to set off for it. Actually.
Oh, mate. Oh, well, look, good luck with that journey. I know you don't mind the driving when you're gigging.
No, I don't actually. I enjoy it. So. Actually, to be honest, if it's like a wedding gig, something where I've been quite an energetic gig, then or a long day, I actually enjoy a longer drive. About an hour and a half is perfect. Stick an audiobook on or a podcast.
That's it.
Chill out. Grab a cup of tea on the way home, maybe, and a ginsters or something. Sausage roll, and just kind of.
I'm hungry now.
You know, try to just kind of chill out on the way home. And by the time we get home,
a little you time.
Yeah,
a little you time. A little time for Matt.
A few years back, I did a deck gig for a mate of mine, and it was in Farnham. Obviously, we were living in Farnborough, and it was only 10 minutes away. And I left the gig and got everything packed up, you know, still a bit sweaty and stuff from the gig, and I got home, and I was like, I'm going to have to just go and drive around for 20 minutes. I'm not relaxed yet. I won't be able to, I can't, I like that drive home, settle down kind of.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
It's an important part of the gig for me.
I know what you mean. Yeah. Well, once you finish your sausage roll and your Cornish pasty and your coffee, and if you're finding yourself...
Not both, come on.
Oh, well, no, come on, you need some road snacks for 2 hours at least.
Clean the car out.
If you find yourself getting a little drowsy, give me a call and we'll have a chat about how your board went.
Fantastic. Cool. All right, buddy. Really great to chat to you, mate. Cracking chat this week.
Cool. Yeah. Likewise, mate. Speak to you next week. Have
awesome,
a good gig
buddy.
tonight.
Take care, mate. Have a good gig tomorrow.
Cheers. Bye,
See you later, mate.
Bye.
Thanks so much for joining us on the podcast this week. Hope you enjoyed it. Remember to come and speak to us on our social media pages, and you can find us on Facebook and Instagram. You just need to search Guitar Smarts. And remember, the biggest thing you can do to help us is to rate and review our podcast, and that helps us to get in the ears of more listeners who are looking for guitar-related podcasts. Anyway, speak to you soon. Take care.